Hello and welcome today to the Brothers Gwyn channel. I am Ed and I'm going to be talking today about Anna Smith Sparks, A Woman of the Sword. This is a fairly new release in grimdark fantasy and I am a massive fan of Anna Smith Sparks' writing. I read her Empires of Dust trilogy and absolutely loved it, so I thought, how could I not read this epic fantasy standalone? This standalone is fantasy, as I said earlier, and it is as if Cormac McCarthy decided to dip his hand into sword and sorcery. Anna Smith Sparks is a brilliantly evocative and impactful writer. With her prose, she is able to carve so many different layers into her stories. The characters really won me over in this series, which is very different to the last series. The last one, there were just no one likable, so it's a bit hard to get behind them, but you appreciated the writing and what was going on around them. And sometimes you don't need likable characters to enjoy a story, but in that series, I wasn't hugely fans of them. But this one, there are, characters that you can really get behind, which is brilliant. The main character, Lede, is a veteran mother of many different battles, and she is just living her life protecting her two sons, and it is fantastic to read about. It just does not disappoint whatsoever. I love being on this journey, and it was a brutal and quite scary ride at times, but it was a lot of fun to read as well. Anna Smith Sparks' writing takes you in directions that you just didn't even think were on the compass, and it's so much fun to read. It is grim at times, realistic at other moments, and immensely emotional, which is Anna Smith Sparks, has her best writing in this book. She has this emotional vein running throughout, like a great river of tears, really. And it is, every bit as sad to read as I'm sure it is sad for the characters to be enduring. And it does feel that real. There are so many scenes that stick out to me from memory, and I'm sure, look, when I get to the end of this year and I'm looking back at the great books I read all year, then some scenes from A Woman of the Sword will be poking me in my brain to say, remember me, because they were just fantastic, and it's one of my favourite reads of the year so far. Now, A Woman of the Sword is an epic fantasy that is seen through the eyes of an ordinary woman. Lede is a daughter, a wife, and a mother, and a great warrior born to fight. That is what she feels like. That's her calling, and it is, that need is almost a character throughout the book, which is phenomenally written, and it's pretty intense. Almost Logan the Bloody Nine vibes for sure. Her sword is hungry for killing. Her right hand is red with blood. War is very much a woman's business, but war is not kind to women, and war is not kind to mothers and their sons, and this is a book all about a mother's relationship with her two young boys. Smith Sparks delivers an absolutely brutal, captivating, and sometimes magical, often pretty harrowing as well, portrayal of warfare from the perspective of an everyday soldier. There is no empowerment for these characters, and as Peter Baelish says, some people are the chess players, others are the pieces, and Lede is undoubtedly one of the pieces. She is a great character. She, the way that it is written from the soldier's point of view rather than the leader or the chosen one, which is, many fantasy stories are told from historical fiction too. This is so different. This is told from the perspective of someone who's a mother, who is also a warrior, and who is someone who, boots on the ground soldier, one of the grunts essentially in warfare, with no decisions, just, go point in this direction and you have to fight whoever's coming towards you. And that is a really interesting read. Is a really interesting dynamic, what we're not used to, where this character has no power over her actions essentially, when she's a soldier, and that is great to read. Now, Lede is a mother. She has just buried her husband. She's a single parent now, and she goes through some immense struggles to care for and support her two young boys. Smith Sparks' take on motherhood and writing, Lede as a mother and as a soldier is so different to anything I've ever experienced within reading before. There is this internal turmoil for Lede. Her children are distinct and very childlike. They have these kind of rapid thoughts. They have carefree moments. They care too much about other things, whether it's about a toy and that kind of thing, especially in intense moments. And I love the way that the characters of, especially the children, are written, because they really feel like unique and totally unique characters, and they feel very realistic. Which obviously usually you read a book and the children feel like they're going to go on and win a science award or something something. They're so clever and their dialogue is so sharp, but these children actually feel like children, and it just adds this layer of tension. It's almost like a mist is within the pages, where you feel that you just don't know what's going to happen next because of the unpredictable nature of warfare. Children, and lots of people say never work with children, never work with animals. Here Lede is trying to work with these two children to keep them safe, and it doesn't always go to plan, as I'm sure you can imagine. It is an Anna Smith Spark book after all, and yeah, I love how distinct the children are from each other as well as from all of the other characters. Lede goes through so much to protect them, all while battling her own nature. And as a glorified soldier, because she has this kind of just extra layer to her where she feels like she's destined to fight. It's like she's desperate to do it, to spill blood, and that is just a really just unique dynamic, really, to the relationship. Well, rather than the mother just everything she thinks about is about her children, it's not. She's kind of at war with herself, and it is kind of almost a character study, really. And her portrayal as a mother is on the same level as Misaki from Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang, which is one of my favourite mother perspectives, as well as Orca from The Blood Swan by, you guessed it, Papa John Gwynne. And it is so much fun, but almost really sad and scary to read from Lede's perspective. With war all about her, she has no choice but to face it with her children by her side, and it is quite the journey. We're then taken on a march that is full of just pure character exploration. And, we have some battles here that are as red as the ruby in Lede's sword. And there is a beautiful culmination that left me utterly speechless, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, is pretty rare. The way that Smith Spark takes you to places you could not have predicted is so bold. But I am here for bold writers, and Anna Smith Spark just does whatever she wants, and it really, really does pay off, especially in A Woman of the Sword. There are some really powerful scenes in this book, ones that are hauntingly beautiful, others that are just utterly full of misery, I won't lie to you. The writing forces you to see these kind of cinematic paintings of Smith Spark's prose within your head, and it evokes so much feeling. And the characters in a dialogue is as much a part of this novel as the descriptions, as the characters' actions themselves. And it is their internal conflicts are really, really driven so perfectly. I don't think I'll ever stop being so impressed with Smith Spark's writing, and I will read a section now. A time of chaos, a time of warlords, a time of war without end. Axe age, sword age, the spears are raised, the banners flutter in the storm wind. Wolf age, beast age of dragons, joyfully the carrion eaters sing. The woods are cut down to feed the forge fires. The sweet green trees blaze up to smelt more iron and bronze. The earth is ripped open for the metals veined within it. The smiths sweat and work until their arms shake. The people must go hungry to feed the armies marching. They have taken the horses and the oxen. The merchants and the farmers curse them. The villages are abandoned. Weeds grow in the streets, for every man has gone off to war. The roads are black with soldiers marching. They raise a dust that hangs heavy in the air. Children are born whose first word is battle. Children grow to adulthood knowing nothing but the music of war. A great empire rises on the blades of their swords. They march across the world killing, and the world is thrown down beneath them. Power and death and glory and killing. Such fine things, such good things. Now, that was just, that piece of writing blew me away. It was so just incredible, and it's so vivid. I'm sure you can see it in your mind as well. Obviously, please excuse my dodgy reading. I'm definitely not an audible narrator. But Anna Smith Spark's writing is incredibly powerful here, and I love the way that builds the tension. And you just see, just in a paragraph, a very short paragraph really, you see the kind of the breadth of war. It's got all of these different mentions of the materials of all the characters, what the people go through, and you immediately feel the sense of dread. And that passage really reminds me of a passage from the Voluspa, or the Poetic Edda, which is an old Norse tale, really, about the coming of Ragnarok, the coming of this world ending in Norse mythology, where the gods will fight the gods, and there is a huge battle to end all other battles. Now I'll read a passage from the Völuspa, and it says, "Now Garm howls loud before Niphaler. The fetters will burst and the wolf run free. Much do I know and more can see of the fate of the gods, the mighty in fight. Brothers shall fight and fell each other, and sisters' sons shall kinship stain. Hard it is on earth with mighty whoredom. Axe time, sword time, shields are sundered. Wind time, wolf time, ere the world fails, nor ever shall men each other spare." And that was absolutely fantastic. I love reading A Woman of the Sword. I hope you enjoyed my review of it, and I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit of the Völuspa, which any chance to read that, I definitely will. But thank you so much for watching. This is a review of A Woman of the Sword, and it is a great, great read, so I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you do go and read it, but please let me know in the comments below if you want to read this or if you have read it yet. Anyway, see you soon. Truth and Courage, the brother, Gwyn.